right. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing? Yeah. All right. I'm super excited to be your host today for our amazing session on integrating an enterprise tech stack into Webflow. And just to level set a bit on what we'll cover over the next 45 minutes, in today's world, the most advanced and effective businesses really rely on their technology integrating deeply together. And organizations are stuck in monolithic all-in-one platforms, just can't compete against businesses that are agile and assembling their tech stack via best-of-breed solutions. And what we want to do today is actually talk about a real example of this with one of our most amazing customers, Nursa. And I have these kind of conversations every day with our customers in the field. And Nursa built not only a great marketing website on Webflow's composable platform, but also a core business application that is so crucial to how they run their service. So in this session, we'll discuss a lot about that, but we'll also go through some best practices and maybe some common pitfalls to think about when you're building a composable website that drives real business outcomes. So before we really dive into it, I think you should know who you're talking to. So we're going to do just a quick round of intros. I'll start myself. My name is Hsieh. I lead Webflow's solutions engineering, customer success, and education teams, a lot of teams, but I'll dig into what they all do. So our solutions engineers really help our customers and partners understand the value of Webflow and also the technical aspects of our product. Our customer success and education teams help our customers adopt and implement our technology. So that's me in a nutshell. I'll pass it over to you, Curtis, to introduce yourself.
Curtis Anderson, founder and CEO of Nursa. We talk about agency at the Webflow conference, but agency for me has a little bit different word, or term, I should say. I bought a staffing agency. That's how I got into this game. Background in product and engineering, but picked up a traditional staffing agency to learn a bit more about how we might infuse technology into that. Went in to meet the founders and to meet the owners of that company. They had a whiteboard and sticky notes, orange sticky notes on one side of the whiteboard, green sticky notes on the other side of the whiteboard. One had nurse names and one had hospitals that had needs to fill with nursing needs. And the owner walked up to the whiteboard and said, "Curtis, making money in this business is this easy," and took two sticky notes, put them in the center of the whiteboard. They had grown that agency quite precipitously over a period of 6 years, and I had a lot of thoughts when they did that. But the first of which was, if I'm half of what my mother thinks I am with Excel, we ought to be able to automate some of this. Started operating that, put some operators in place, and then started building tech to farm out the more formal solution, which became Nursa.
Nenad Ivanovic, coming from Belgrade, Serbia. I'm the product manager in Nursa and trying to bring to life some of the ideas that Curtis has about nursing and making the nursing platform. I'm feeling like I'm living like two lives with Webflow. Last night I checked, I built the first website on Webflow in 2015.
Oh, wow.
Like the beginning of the year. So as many of you are working on different projects and Webflow websites, that was me also. And then the second life basically is on an enterprise level and building the website such as Nursa.com and focus on that.
Well, thank you for being such a great customer for almost a decade. That's amazing.
Yeah, I always consider myself as a young guy. It seems like not anymore.
I hear you, man. I hear you. All right, so before we dig into things, I just love to give you a sense of what Nursa does and give you some context around that. And to do that, I want to play a really quick clip here that I thought captured Nursa's mission quite effectively. So let's see if this works.
I spent a lot of time in the hospital as a kid. My mom was very sick. I didn't really get all that was going on at the time, but it was hard. I'll never forget my mom's nurse. She would bring me suckers, and she treated me and my mom so well. I doubt she ever realized it, but that made the world of difference to me.
What's your sisters do?
That's why Nursa's so great. They help us staff the way we need to give the best care possible.
That's absolutely amazing. Curtis, one of the reasons that we asked Nursa to come up here to be on stage today was just the really powerful mission you have as a company. I think we just saw a very small example of that with the video that we just played. But can you give the audience a sense of what Nursa does as a company?
You bet, absolutely. Our mission is to get a nurse to the bedside of every patient in need. And the way that we do that, we have a platform that connects the managers, the healthcare staffing managers that have short-term staffing needs, to the lowest cost, reliable nurse that can fill that, that wants to fill that shift. So it sounds simple because it is, but it hasn't always been that way historically. There tends to be, in a lot of other alternatives, a lot of people that fall between the manager and the nurse. And those people have a sense and a tendency to confuse information. There's lots of different incentives working. It's kind of like a big adult game of telephone. You all played telephone on the playground where you whisper something into somebody's ear and then it goes around and it never comes out the way that, that it started. Spoiler alert for any of you who haven't played the game. But it works that way a lot in life as well, where the manager would send something to a third party, that third party would contact another third party, and then eventually it gets to the nurse. And so the nurse and the manager historically have never met or even talked in most cases until the day that they're working together. Nursa compresses all of those layers, directly connects the two parties, and makes sure that the working relationship is more transparent and certainly deeper and more meaningful.
Nice. Delivering quality healthcare is such a challenge these days, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. We're here for it.
Yeah. So, we're here at Webflow Conference. Obviously, we're talking websites. And I know your website plays a very crucial role for your business. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, you bet. So a majority of what we fill will match and fill within 12 hours of the shift start time. So this is very quick turnaround. For us, the website is then an important part of transparently sharing and showing what that inventory looks like. Things move fast, and so there's certainly an aspect of what the website does for us that's a marketing, similar to the video that you've seen now. It's leveraging the internet as a noun, but for us there's also an internet as a verb component to this, because the inventory changes quickly. People need access to it, and we're trying to get the shortest road for a nurse who wants to go to work to be able to understand what the shift looks like, and then be able to get in touch with those involved to fill it.
So it sounds like your website talks to a lot of different systems. We'll get into that. I think that's the meat of the presentation today. But can we actually roll tape? And what we're going to put up here is just a visualization of Nursa.com. We'll have it playing as we go through this. But Curtis, I know you weren't always on Webflow, right? There was a time and day that you were on a different platform, and you had some challenges. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. The challenges for us will not be surprising or novel for all of you. I think very similar to what you've all experienced. Massive amounts of content moving quickly, technical SEO components at scale. And so what we had prior was all of that. We had challenges getting content spread, being able to do that at scale with enough visibility without compromising speed and performance is at the heart of what makes CMS a really interesting piece of how to solve for this, because the more you get, the bigger it gets. And they're certainly, for us, certainly not prior to Webflow, there were no solutions that allowed us to that didn't force us to compromise between scalability, and performance on the content.
Got it. And then you were on WordPress, was that right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like the rest of the world.
Yeah, a lot of WordPress sites out there for sure. How did that all change when you got onto Webflow?
Yeah, so we had the way that Nenad and I came at this, we had an opportunity to test and to pilot a bunch of different solutions to get a sense on whether or not we could scale past what we had without creating additional technical weight. And the boxes that we needed to check were it needed to improve our technical performance and needed to be reliable. So there was just a sense of basic reliability in that we were trying to calculate for, and then as well be able to scale content. Product and development, engineering don't have a monopoly on good ideas, and so trying to leverage and get this in the hands of people that could drive it without low code, no code, certainly enabled us to move faster as an organization. So those were some of the components at play.
Yeah, and I hear that every day with our customers. Okay, so Nenad, I kind of want to draw you into this, and if you don't mind switching back to the slides here. And by the way, Curtis, jump in on this.
Oh, sure.
Because he's actually a very, very technical CEO, as I found yesterday when he was talking to Alan, our CTO here at Webflow. But Nenad, this is a very simple visualization of some of the key technologies that you all have plugged into Nursa.com. And we'll dig into the details there and how all this stuff works. But before we get into that, I would just love to get your take on what you look for when it comes to a composable web platform.
Got it. So first of all, my background is basically product designer. So I spend the most of my time in UI and UX. That is how I came to work with Curtis on Nursa. So we basically first build the prototypes and everything like that. And then for me to transition a little bit to product manager role in that sense was always interesting. Like I need to align so many different people that are like developers, content writers, and etc. And to convince the developers to actually build some kind of prototype and see what results it will drive and etc. And basically, that can be challenging, like convincing other people that you have great ideas, right? And this is where Webflow came in to actually, this time to market, to actually test your ideas, even without involving too many people, like a broad team, to actually test if you're right on the direction that you want to convince the whole team to actually go. So this is where I fell in love in obviously 2015, as I checked last night, with Webflow. It is just incredible that now I can build as a designer who has some idea and a vision, and also see where my ideas are not that good, right? Like designer, when designs in Figma, don't think about technical SEO. We had a great session here just before. But when you start to design as a designer inside the Webflow, then you have a driving wheel and responsibility to drive that car pretty fast, and also keep an eye on the metrics, like on the fuel, like technical SEO in this analogy, and how everything moves and goes. And then maybe you won't create that animation that is so cool as a designer. Maybe you will keep it for something else.
Nice. So it's all about getting your ideas and your content out as quickly as possible.
Exactly.
So, just going back to this diagram that we have flashed up here, can you just walk us through all the different technologies that we have plugged into Nursa.com and how they actually work with your core service?
So this is where actually the things are getting really interesting. Like first, when you're building a website, you want to answer like a couple of set of questions, and that's like level one. Like, can we switch from WordPress to Webflow in this case? Can we build a homepage that converts, that makes sense on SEO, and etc.? And you're answering those questions. And then you need to integrate Google Analytics. Everyone here starts with that, right? And then you see if it's driving and where are the people clicking and using. Then you want to see, okay, are the people coming to your beautiful, the best website in the world? So that is when you integrate Google Search Console to answer you some of the questions and be like a navigation through the Google that is happening there. After that, it's like level 2, like, okay, this is working, this is bringing some people, but like, does it convert? In our case, we have a lot of, like we have the web app where we have a lot of complexity to manage for the nurses to actually go to a shift, to have all credentials and everything. So most of that like lies in the app. And in that case, on that stage, was actually to move the people from like marketing website to the app. And this is where AppsLayer comes in. I don't know, somebody here used AppsLayer? Okay, so it's basically a tool to tell you from where are the users installing your app. So you can use it from the website, you can use it on with influencers, on other paid traffic, and etc. And this is now like another integration that we need to do. And then, okay, we're converting people and sending, and then Curtis comes with more questions, like, okay, what is again the performance and speed, and what is now security of the website? Like, if you build something that it's working and actually driving your business, in that case, you want to protect it. So this is where Cloudflare on the slide is coming in. So we play a lot on the tools that Cloudflare offers there, and I'm grateful also for opportunity to actually be like using Webflow as the core platform for all of these integrations that we are having on enterprise level, which is a totally different ball game than building a cool website. Just to give also one level, like what magnitude we are talking about, we have like 100K pages on our website. So it's not anymore like hundreds and thousands. Then after that, we have a new set of questions that we want to answer, and more tools are coming into play, like Segment that we use, like a data lake where we send all the data to get a sense of it further in the funnel. Then we have Algolia that is helping us to actually make better searching and filter experience because we're the marketplace, and that is crucial to have it. And then when you have all of that, how you orchestrate it to actually work together, that is totally different ball game and a challenge.
That's amazing. A lot of complexity on that side. I'm going to throw a curveball at you. I actually didn't prepare you for this, but I know you know the answer because we had that great conversation with our CTO yesterday. Can you just talk a little bit about how you're pushing the scale limits on the CMS with the content that you're generating and building on your website?
Yes, perfect. Happy to do that. Like when we first switched from WordPress to Webflow, on WordPress we had 300K pages. So everyone who came to actually do something on WordPress created 10,000 pages like that. But that didn't matter because for SEO, like none of those pages converted that well. So like the first, what we needed to do, it's actually my decision came in to cut most of those pages. So from 300K, we switched to 30K, then 40K on Webflow, and now we have grew ever since to 100K. And guess what? These 30K pages actually worked much better than these 300K that we had. Just to put it in numbers, we literally in the first year had 10x on SEO and 35x on the most important section of the website that actually drives business results.
Got it. So I know, like we just talked about some of the tools that you have integrated into your website. There's a lot of complexity behind it. You're pushing the limits of the CMS. What is the role of the Webflow account team? How are we helping you get your website to where it needs to be?
So let's go back like nearly 2 years ago when we were thinking to make this change. First, we met with Ben. Everybody knows Ben here, right? We met with Nathan. If you didn't met Nathan, shout out to him, amazing guy. So immediately from the start, we came with these really hard challenges. Like, we are product guys, Curtis and me, right? So we didn't look on the website as a marketing tool only. Like, that was just like the first level, right? Like, we were always looking like what it can do more for the business and what it's actually the technical challenges there that we need to work around the Webflow. And this is where actually Ben and Nathan and the crew came in to work with us on those solutions, so we be more confident to actually do that. And guess what? Like, you have some vendors that like, hey, make a sale and they're gone and you don't see them anymore. Actually, we are still friends. Like, we are going through, and Ben helped us on a lot of technical solutions and similar. I need to mention also Brett. Maybe he's somewhere there. No, he didn't want to come to my session. We have a lot of conversations how this can scale even further, even higher, and how everything can work together. And like ever since, like I feel that they're with us. And when I'm the one who is taking this driving wheel, like a Webflow as a core platform for everything what we do, I also get wings in the sense like, okay, I got bloody and I made some mistakes, but the team was there.
Yeah.
Like Nursa team and Webflow team together to actually fix my mistakes first, and then let's see how we can progress.
Yeah, I think from an executive level, it's also been helpful, Pete, just the degree of transparency that we have. So there are certainly, enterprise has come a long ways in the last 3 years, and then yesterday with the announcements, there's even more ahead. But as we came into that discussion, anytime we were hitting a roadmap, the team was very transparent about what the current limits were, and then what we were doing about it to move it forward. It makes a world of difference to have a partner that communicates like that. When the answer is simply no or no, not yet, okay, well, where does that leave us, right? And there's just this sense of ambiguous context to it, and so for us, that's been a very meaningful. This is also, and maybe a more simple example, but we just don't have that many third-party vendors who show up at our office, and that's been materially different here. Like, we have a team. There's certainly a relationship and kinship there from a personal capacity, but in pushing the boundaries and in driving this forward, we've had transparency, we've had communication, and we feel like we're in the boat together across the organization.
That's awesome. And we are always looking for customers like you guys that really push the limit of our platform so we can build the solution that the market really needs. So if we could roll tape once again, I know we just spent the last few minutes here just really talking about how Nursa uses Webflow today. And Nenad, I know what we're showing right now is a new capability that you just deployed to your Webflow site. Can you just talk a little bit about what's happening here, but also what you're excited about in terms of what's next for Nursa, as well as a partnership with Webflow? And then Curtis, I'd love to ask you the same question.
Sounds good. So what you're seeing now on the screen is basically one of the most complex pages, per my knowledge, that might be ever be built on the Webflow. And this is all the tools that I just spoke about orchestrated on one single page that is still actually performing pretty well for SEO. So as you can see here, we have Google Maps API that you can circle around all the facilities that are working with us and pick up a shift. Then we have Algolia, again, another vendor on enterprise level where we have different set of challenges to actually solve for the platform that a nurse can find right shift for her. And here we have filters and search that is like pretty fast and similar. And this is where we again go back to the support of the Webflow. So first we have in-house team. We have our developers for APIs and putting shifts on the Webflow. And then we have also the team from Webflow that is helping us to make this all work together. And then when we want to go even faster, we call Flow Ninjas here to help us out to actually make this work all together. So if there is one page that I spend the most of my working life, it's actually this one.
Got it. Yeah, it looks awesome. And actually, one additional question that I think would be interesting for the audience to understand too is like how, because you have a core mobile application that does a lot of the shift management and all that fun stuff. Like, how does the marketing website work well with that mobile application? Can you just talk about that relationship real quick?
So this is where it gets even more interesting, and this is what I'm the most excited about the next year, basically, right, and focusing on now. It's how we can use the level 1 marketing website to actually impact the business goals and the product, and how everything can work together. And speaking of all what got announced here on the Webflow conference, we're actually the most excited about APIs and CMS scale and all performance that are happening there, because that is exactly what we need to actually drive this impact forward.
Awesome. And that's one thing that I should have called out in the beginning here. You know, obviously Webflow has had a lot of success being a site builder and a hosting solution, but obviously we want to be much more than that. And you can hear an example of someone using our platform in a very meaningful way. So we've done a lot in terms of investment in our APIs. We will continue to do that as we drive into the headless and DXP markets. But Curtis, back to you. What are you most excited about?
From a web experience platform, you know, as we think about the future in that way, there's a few things that are really we have a shared story. Quite often, people don't know where to put us because they're trying to compare what they've historically seen in an agency response with a digital switchboard that handles this thing more aggressively. And I think that's shared. You know, you're starting to bridge the gap at Webflow between what was and then what can be in some gray territory, and how we've generally thought about, you know, website as a marketing piece and then functional platform. So I love the fact that there's like a shared interest in blurring some of these lines. Frequently we get a conversation about, you know, you're expensive. Okay, it's interesting. I don't think so. Actually, you know, for us, we're responding to facility users in that setting with, you know, what is the cost of burnout or turnover? Sure. What's the opportunity cost of a bed that doesn't go on, you know, that goes unfilled? You guys have a similar aspect to that, because calculating total cost of ownership for what a marketing website does is different than what a web experience, a more full platform would bring to the table, or will bring to the table. So there's, you know, present state we have some of the same uphill fights, and I think what I'm most excited about is to push into that future, because as you conquer the gray space, what you get to do is redefine what is. You get to reset the expectations and then carry things forward in a way that I think levels that up. For us, that's, you know, pushing CMS. I mean, we literally had a meeting yesterday with Alan, who said, "Look, this is where things are now." Nenad said, "That's not enough. We need them here." And everyone left the room as friends, and we're going to continue to push those boundaries, certainly. So there's some aspects of this for the basics that we're excited to continue to push, to have more flexibility in a REST environment or in a headless capacity to run these, to connect these systems via APIs and a much more, have much more elasticity there is certainly invigorating, because of what we can do to further test or demo our own features. As an example of this, core app last year versus what we pushed on the website, the sheer number of pushes, which isn't the only metric that matters in this, but we pushed 35 times more 35x on the web what we pushed in core app performance. And so when you have that kind of environment where you can compress the time from an idea to impact in customers' hands, you want to leverage that as much as you can. You get the opportunity to learn quicker, to respond quicker, all the general benefits of iterations, which you're all well aware of. So we'll continue to do that and leverage web as a tool in that way to help us move forward faster, and then share that context with the rest of the organization to drive core app in a better direction to be a really efficient machine.
Awesome. It's all about that speed. And we're so excited to continue to partner with the both of you and Nursa as we get through this journey together. Okay, so at this point, we left some time for any questions that the audience may have. All you need to do is raise your hand, and we have a mic runner in the back here. So if you have any questions for Curtis, Nenad, or myself. Oh, sorry, Nenad, you want to?
Can I go with one short story, and I will leave it for all the questions? One more interesting thing about like opportunity cost that is always like hard to calculate. And in my case, like from the perspective of the manager, we had like the WordPress team that we were working on. And I was the one, as part of that team as a designer, I designed the whole Nursa from the beginning, and I was designing in that team. And the dynamics to work on like problematic environment like was really, really not engaging. So to put it that way, like nobody wanted like, okay, we need to do something on website. And then 2 weeks design, and then, procrastinate also, because there was no excitement around that at all, right? And now when we are using the Webflow, that dynamic changed. And if that is not speaking about the opportunity cost, I don't know what it is. Like now when we want to publish a page, people come, okay, let's publish 10 more, let's publish 10,000, let's write even more content. And like everyone in organization who are working on a website want to do more, and we can do more, and leveraging less a whole organization.
They're actually excited to use Webflow.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
I love that. So, Brad, I saw you got a question.
Hi, my name is Brad Miller from Tampa, Florida. I work for 10up and Fueled. We're a full-service digital agency. And I'm curious, WordPress, obviously, in the current space right now, I'm sure we're hearing a lot of people talk about it and whatnot, but what was the tipping point for you when you decided? Was it of speed, and that was kind of where you saw Webflow to help you all? Or was there something specific that really, really said, you know what, we need to make this shift now? I'm curious, what were those few things?
Can I tell the story?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You follow me? So it's actually like a funny story. So I used Webflow, and I knew what it can done, and I was suggesting to Curtis, and we used it for like paid ads and like landing pages and all the usual use cases, right? And then he was like, can this go, how fast this can go? And then I showed it to him, and then next challenge. Okay, what's the performance? Okay, next challenge, speed. Okay, and I'm like, okay, finally, he might give me to build some side website on it, and he says, okay, we go Nursa.com.
I think at the heart of it for me, like many of you, I picked up engineering as a kid, like watched HTML 2.0 come online. WordPress was this really beautiful gift because it made all of that faster, but you get into these places, the bigger the sites get, where you're constantly in this compromise wrestle of two binary options. You can have the content, or you can have performance. And so there's just a part of this where, why does the world have to be this way? Like, why are these the things that I have to choose between? And I'm constantly choosing between them. And so you'd ramp up content on the site, or you'd do something great with what you were trying to deliver in the storytelling, and then your performance would suck. And then you'd have 2.5 months of wiping away the plugins, moving through the material, combing through PHP, and you just want to murder somebody. and then you'd be right back to the place, well, now we've got back to performance, but it sucks. Like, the experience is just miserable. We can't, like, it's not doing the story justice. And so when Nenad was pushing these pieces, we'd had enough exposure to Webflow as a tool that I knew there was stuff here that we hadn't double clicked on. But when you have a manager and a team who's ready to push that limit, then it's like, okay, if everybody's ready, what about here? Can we do this? And I knew that at over 300,000 pages, we weren't doing ourselves any favors, but I didn't know which of those pages mattered most. And I didn't know how to preserve that content and then start from there. When Nenad then came back and said, we need to go from 330,000 plus pages to 30,000 pages, I did a double click to whoa. Is there really that much cancer in the way that we've pursued this? But at the heart of it was just this wrestle of I got content and I got performance. And so then the test was, well, we need both. So will this tool do both? And we did, I think I gave the team 20 days.
Yeah, you know to be optimistic with deadlines.
It was literally you got 2 weeks. Show me what you can do in 2 weeks. And when Nenad and the team came back and showed me the pilot, that was enough for me to say, okay, if this is the way it is, there's no reason we shouldn't do it all this way. And we went all in really fast. Really fast. Yeah. Is that helpful?
No, that's great.
Yeah. Cool.
Great question. We love talking WordPress. Any other questions from the audience? I got one over here.
Hi. I was wondering how long the migration took and what that process was like.
So it started with 2 weeks. And that was my Christmas present from this guy.
Nice.
So it was, I don't remember exact numbers. I think actually they are in the case study on webflow.com. But it was around the Christmas and it was like a month or so. And I'm so grateful for the team, and I'm hoping that they're watching, internal team who actually worked on WordPress. I came in and I said, okay, we burned the bridges of what we have and we built something new. So they needed, all of us needed to forget what we knew and actually go to the new world in that sense. So that was maybe the most challenging, and I'm the most grateful that, and most of those people are still with us and working, and they're now super happy because of how much we managed to achieve after it in comparison what we managed to achieve before. So to quantify it, if I remember, it was a month and a half, but yeah. And that was 30K pages, a lot of HTML tags not working in rich text and similar.
Thank you.
And our team played a very active role in helping you guys migrate.
So to give really concrete example in that, I have idea this solution on architecture side can work, but I'm not sure, and I didn't saw any Webflow example that might happen. The team was there from the Webflow Enterprise team to actually give me confidence. Okay, this is possible. We need to a little bit work around here and there, and I'm good with that.
Yeah. Brett told a story yesterday about this where when Nenad came in and said, hey, look, this is what we've got to do, they had in theory made the updates necessary. So the infrastructure was here, but they hadn't quite had a real use case yet. So it was just as much, I think, for the Webflow team, a pretty big act of faith in, okay, well, no time like the present to push the limits, and we did that from the beginning. I think it's a great example of where the cohesion between teams, there was a lot to lose right from the start. And when we flipped, it wasn't a 6-week rollover. It was overnight. We shut the thing down, turned it back on, and true to form. That went from a bunch of people sitting in a room around a table saying, who's ready to die? Let's flip the thing to Nenad and team saying, yeah, I think we're ready, and we were there.
Wow, awesome.
You must have broke some records there. We have another question over here.
Hi, my name is Justin. I'm Digital Experience Lead at Google Life Sciences. And I was curious about the differences and similarities in your website versus mobile app experience. And if you're using Webflow, either the CMS API or Webflow, the designer, to help power the mobile app experience, and any shared data platforms there.
Got it. So we are not using like the dev link, if that is what you are asking. So it's separate in that sense. But we are using a lot on the background in the sense like database and APIs. So in my team, I have one full-time dedicated backend developer, and we get like 2 or 3 to work on different features with us, and to actually get as much as possible database data that also the app uses, that we use on the website. And this is basically where, like, if we are speaking about the end user, they don't care what is the technology behind it, right? That is what we care as builders. So we are trying to build that seamless experience, so at some point they won't even notice in that sense. And the data, it's one of the things that is actually proving that you have seamless, holistic approach to the whole platform. And this is why we are the most excited about APIs from all what it's announced, and the CMS scalability in that sense.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons, why we're excited most about the API stuff, because we can make that a more synthetic experience. For me, it's one of the gifts of having someone with a background in design lead that team. Experience is at the heart, and across all teams, we try to be, experience-driven and outcome-oriented. And that certainly helps, because if we think about the experience first, you tend to get out of the world where you functionally silo work across all of product and engineering, and you think more holistically and cohesively across the team about how to deliver the best experience for, in our case, either side of the platform, either user. Is that helpful?
I have one short concrete example, and I need to send a shout out to my team member, Nenad Ivanovic, the same name like me. We have a feature that he is literally doing like 15 minutes of his day doing manually. And now with new API updates, like I'm getting 15 minutes back from Nenad to focus on something that is useful. And, or he can drink a coffee or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if everyone's aware of this, but we recently joined the Mock Alliance. So our directive from an engineering and product side is to be very API first in the way our product works. And you'll continue to see investment in these areas, because the question you just asked is actually very common to our kind of sweet spot in terms of types of customers that we're very successful with, technology companies specifically, where they want to have a very consistent user experience across maybe their core web or mobile application, and also their marketing website. So it all feels the same across those different surfaces. So great question. So I know we have a couple minutes here and room for just one more question. Does anybody else have questions for the panel?
All good?
Okay. 7-second rule, right? So, all right. Well, Curtis and Nenad, thank you so much for coming in to chat with us today. Can we give a huge round of applause for them?